Go get your tail off something else.
All right, we are live. You may hear some tipping and tapping in the background, and that would be the dogs hanging out with us in the studio today. I'm here with Sarah.
Good morning, afternoon.
Yeah, there's people from all over the world, so it's all different kinds of time right now. So we're actually going to paint a jar of conversation hearts, but if you don't want to do the hearts, you can do like M&M candies or whatever you want. I'll give you some suggestions as we get to each part of the painting. How you adapt it if you rather have like brightly colored candy like this. Totally easy to do either way. But when I was painting this, I immediately wished that I had done the conversation hearts. So that's what we're going to do. Now I've already sketched my design onto a canvas. And oh, by the way, this is canvas paper that I just did my practice one on. That's totally fine to use. This particular brand, though, I found it to be really rough. It was like from Walmart, I think. But I bought it years ago. They probably don't even sell it anymore. But it was a Lion's brand, and that was really rough. So sometimes if you have canvas paper, if it's not, this is the real canvas and it tends to be a little toothier, your fake canvas paper might actually blend a little bit better. So just to give you a little tip there. We're going to start by, you can transfer the photo that's on my website, and there's a link in the video description if you want to do that. Or you can just freehand it. If you look at this, it's basically a square with little dips in the sides.
The feed's a little choppy right now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's not very sharp, and the feed's a little choppy.
Okay. Could you guys in chat let me know if you're seeing it okay on your end?
Okay, I think it's getting better.
Yeah, you could actually pause your thing there because that might be taking up some bandwidth as well.
Okay, I will pause that then.
Yeah, I think that's what we usually do. We usually have it paused, don't we?
No, last time I had it.
Oh, yeah?
It might just be because Maisie got off. It's catching up on the...
Yes, we have a sick kid home today, and I had to boot her off the internet so that she was watching Netflix. I'm like, oh, we're going to have problems here. the internet in Maine is not up to that.
People say it's cleared up, so it looks
good. Oh, good. So what I'm doing here is, since we're using acrylics, not watercolors, we can build on our background. We don't have to reserve light areas. So I'm going to start by making my bottle color, and I want this to be like the photo that I found for the M&Ms. That was actually from Lily and Bell at Paint My Photo, and there's a link on my blog to that. And then I realized that I had a mason jar that was very similar, and I bought some conversation hearts to use this. But I loved how hers had this little bit of a tint of greenish blue in it. So I'm just taking a little bit of it's about a viridian green and a little bit of cerulean blue here, and making this kind of milky pale bluish green color on my palette. And I'm just gonna kind of go around and hit the edges of my jar with that. Now this canvas is much smoother than the canvas pad I was using yesterday. I don't have to put a ton. I just want to basically kind of fill in some of the background. And if you are working with hot lights, or you have like a lot of heat on this time of year, you might want to have a spray bottle handy to spritz your palette to keep your paint from drying out while you're working. So just mostly concentrating on the edges. Try not to lose your sketch entirely. I used a tip from Cinnamon Cooney, the art Sherpa, to sketch in with watercolor pencils. So that way, as you add your paint, you don't have like weird graphite lines coming through. So it's a great idea. And then you can also spray your canvas and wipe it away if you make a mistake. So I love that tip. As soon as I saw that, one of the first videos I ever watched of hers, she talked about that. And I thought, that is a great idea. I'm totally going to do that. What are you laughing about back there?
The cat wants to go outside. Hi, Frida. You gonna let me pet you? Oh, wow. I got a headbutt.
Oh, that's a very, she holds you in high regard then. Yes, we have cats in the room now, too. It's a zoo.
Go, Hazel. Go.
At least the chickens are out. No sickly chickens.
No sick chickens.
That's good. Yeah, the stomach bug going around the girls' basketball team is bad enough right now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's fun about acrylics, is not having to worry about painting something, because you can always paint over it if you make a mistake. And I'm working right on my white canvas. It's primed white. I'm not going to be doing a heck of a lot to it. Now I'm going to rinse my brush off. It doesn't have to be pristine. And I'm just going to pick up some white, just kind of some dirty white right next to that color that I just had. And I'm just going to kind of base in that a little bit because I don't want to have any pure stark white canvas in there. I did sketch a few hearts on just freehand in the jar just to have them, you know, have a few focal ones that were in focus, but I'm going to be filling in with a bunch of just other random kind of marks of color, just because your brain will kind of look at it and say, oh yeah, look, it's all full of conversation hearts, but you don't need to see, you know, 100 hearts in there. You just need to see little shapes and marks, and your brain will do the rest of the work. Now I'm using a long handled brush here, so I can actually kind of hold it way back here, and that might help for you guys to be able to see my canvas. My big hand won't be in the way. If you have any questions.
We do.
Oh, good. Okay.
Joe Maskey.
Oh, hey, Joe.
Is this an edge canvas from Jerry's?
Yes, it is.
Andrea Cockrell, is it not too thick a brush? What about a liner brush?
I wouldn't go in with a liner at this point. I start with big brushes. And Joe, speaking of Jerry's Artorama, this is sponsored by jerry'sartorama.com. You can find links to all the products that I'm using in the video description, and you'll find them at the best prices. They have a lot of their own brands of like these Turner paints that I'm using here. They all carry all your favorites like Winsor Newton and Liquitex and Matisse. All those are brands. Golden, you can find whatever you want there, but if you want to save a bundle, you can check out their house brands for exceptional quality at a very low price, and I thank them for sponsoring these videos so I can bring them to you every week. Because you wouldn't believe the amount of work that goes into a live show. It's kind of crazy. It doesn't seem like it, probably.
Lundrum asks if it's water paint or acrylic. Today you're painting with acrylic.
Yes.
Gitali Banat, what brushes do you use and like the most?
Oh boy, you know, I'm really not that particular to a certain brand for acrylics, probably because I don't paint with acrylics all the time. These are Galleria by, oh, I'm sorry, this is a Sienna from Robert Simmons. I have a few of those. I have some Galleria from Winsor & Newton, which I like quite a bit. The Galleria are a little stiffer, so that's easy to push the paint around. I also like these Black Swan by Creative Mark, and I originally got these to use with oils, but I had quite a few, so I used some of the acrylics, and I actually really like them better for acrylics than oils. They are synthetic, but they're super firm. So it really depends on your own style. A lot of times I like to use hog bristles too, because if I'm using a heavy body paint. These paints are very soft bodied, so that would almost lift up the paint if you used a really stiff brush. So it depends on the brand of paint you prefer and, you know, how you like to paint. If you like to work on a really rough canvas, then you need a harder brush, a brush that's stiffer to push the paint around. So it's definitely a personal preference. I would suggest getting like maybe 1 or 2 brushes and a couple different lines and seeing what you prefer.
And in tie with that, Social Butterfly 09, what paint do you use?
Again, I use many different brands. This is the Turner Acryl Gouache, and it's the $25 set that's got brushes and paints and mixing cards. Like if you have a hard time mixing colors, there's a recipe cards here, so it tells you how many parts of what.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and there's 12 colors in this set, and it includes 2 larger tubes of white. And the nice thing about this is if you love, say you love sky blue and you use that up, then you can buy like a larger tube of just the sky blue and replace the colors that you use the most. So it's not like you have to go and buy a brand new set. If you ran out of one of the colors, you can go and buy them open stock. And that is one of those Jerry's exclusive products I was talking about that tend to run quite a bit cheaper. So $25 and you're up and ready to paint. So it's kind of nice.
Sue's Chambers, I know this is acrylic, but have you ever used ampersand aqua boards from Jerry's for watercolor?
I've used ampersand aqua boards once. I prefer paper personally, but if people are often asking how they can frame without glass, and an aqua board would be a good choice, and then you could spray it with a sealer, so you could varnish it and then you wouldn't have to deal with that. I think to make things a little easier, I am going to use some black. Oh, gasp. I know. Well, actually, you know what? I used black in this one. I'm going to show you where I did, because I was using such vivid colors. I used the black to kind of balance it and give it kind of a pop art look, and the shadow was pretty much black, and then a little bit of blue, brown, and white. But now that I think, because this is so pastel, I think I better mix my gray because I think black would be a little too rough. But if you're doing the candies, the M&M candies, I'm all out of sorts today. I got a kid homesick. It just throws me all off my game. But if you are doing the candies, use black and white and a little bit of blue and brown. I'm just going to use the blue and brown and a little white to make my gray because I think black will be too harsh with the range of colors I'm using. So some brown here.
Darling Faringa, can I use mixed media paper with watered down acrylic?
Yeah, I don't even think you need to water it down. I think the less water you get on the mixed media paper, probably the better. I would suggest gessoing it if you do plan on using water with it, just to give it a little extra barrier so it's not going to suck up. If you use gesso, you're going to use less paint, which is economical. So gesso is fairly cheap compared to pigmented paint, so I think I would do that. So what I'm going to do here is go along my little horizon line there, and see that does make a really dark, almost black gray, and I'm going to pull it down here because this jar is full. It's going to cast an opaque shadow, and so you can see how this black swan brush does have a lot of body to it, a lot of stiffness. Now this would not be an appropriate brush for watercolor because it's so stiff. It wouldn't hold a lot of water. It would kind of might dig up at the paper a little bit. You wouldn't be able to like get those long flowing strokes, but for a thicker paint, it's very appropriate.
Pretty Air, what do you prefer, acrylic paint or watercolor?
I prefer watercolor. Probably in order would be watercolor, then oils, then acrylics.
Let's see. Kirstine Jensen, I've been looking for an email address to send Lindsay something but can't find any. Is there an email address I can use?
Yep, artstudiosofbangor@yahoo.com. It's right on my website. If you go to my website, I think it's in the, it might be like in the disclosure or the sponsorship info or whatever. Or if, I think there's like a captcha code on YouTube. If there's like a send an email or something like that, and you can enter a code to prove you're not a robot, and then you can get my email address that way too. So if I was doing this in watercolor, because some of you guys might want to do this in watercolor, I would then, like here in acrylics, I'm going to add white and soften this edge, like clean my brush, add white. But you could just clean your brush and with water and then pull out your shadows. So think about that too. We're kind of approaching this similar to a watercolor where we are working on a white canvas and leaving a lot of the white showing. Gosh, I hate to cover too much of my sketch up there, but.
Gitali Benot, how do you get your inspiration?
Well, there's a site that I reference a lot called Paint My Photo, and it's a great collaborative effort between artists and photographers. And photographers willingly share their photos for artists to be able to use, and then the artists can do whatever they like with their pictures that they paint. And it's really fun. It's that's where I get a lot of ideas, and then I sort my ideas into albums. So if I think that would be good in acrylic, I'll put it in acrylic. If I think it'd be good in pastel, I'll put it in the pastel album. So that's kind of how I organize. But also, you know, just looking around in my environment, I'll see, you know, scenery or things that I think would be really nice for a painting, and just kind of jot it down or take a photo myself. My photos aren't as good as the people on Paint My Photo. Like I shared the photo of my conversation hearts on my blog. It'll get the job done, but it's definitely not as nice as the ones the good photographers share there.
Denise Hughes, Art for You. Do you mix your acrylics with a polymer?
Acrylics have a polymer in them. I usually don't do much with mediums, to tell you the truth.
JPC13 Art, can you give some tips on framing drawings I'm reorganizing my room and I want to hang some of my drawings.
Yeah, I would try to, I do have a couple of videos on cutting mats, and if you cut your own mats, you'll save, I'm just dipping the corner of my brush that's kind of a light shadow in there, in my darker shadow, and I'm just adding it to the edges of these hearts. If you learn to cut your own mats, you can save a lot of money. It's not for everyone though, and a lot of times you can actually find frames that have mats included. So if you're working in a standard size, that would be a good way to do it. You can search online for like photo arrangement ideas, and a lot of like sites will have different tips for how to arrange your photos. If you have a lot of pictures of the same size, like you're always painting 9x12 or 8x10 or 11x14, you can buy your frames in bulk and save a lot of money. When I have to buy frames in bulk, I get them at Jerry's because they have boxes of 4 and they're way cheaper than buying them individually at other of like the wholesale framers that I work with. So, you know, I would say I kind of see what you have and what you need to work with, and then kind of price out a few different options, see what will fit in your budget, and see what you like the look of. I like the gallery style frames, which means that the frames are thick. They're kind of modern. The face is like probably about 3/4 of an inch wide, but they push the picture out from the wall about 2 inches. And I think that's a really nice look, and that's what I like to do. And you can do that in like a natural wood color or stained wood or black. They have colors too. I think the colors might get really tiresome to look at after a while. So, I mean, there's a few options. There's so much you can do, you know. I would recommend definitely looking at the artwork more than looking at your furniture to decide what you want to, you know, how you want to frame it. And you worked at the framing department at a store too, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it's definitely more important to consider the type of piece, you know, the style, whether it's photo, oil, acrylic, modern, impressionist, graphic, and then base your mat and frame choice on that versus your room decor. I can remember a couple people coming in with some really cool photos and artwork and putting them in a brown frame with, you know, brown wooden frame with a beige mat that didn't match at all, but it was going to match the wood paneling in their room that it was going in, and just did not help the art at all. And so yeah, definitely look at your art first, and then from there decide what the style is and pick from there.
What I'm doing here is just taking out this brush. This larger Black Swan brush is quite soft. It's a filbert, which means it's flat, but it's got a rounded tip. And what I'm doing is I'm just using this to kind of soften in around my shadows. I don't want them to be so harsh because these colors are going to be really soft in this painting. So I'm just using that to kind of break up my the dark around these hearts. And I'm just using a very random kind of like I'm doing little X's, kind of like back and forth, almost like you're making the infinity sign with your brush, but you're only tapping it where it would cross. So that's just to give us a little more atmosphere and a softer look here.
Phelan Jackson, what affordable but good quality watercolors do you recommend?
There's quite a few, especially nowadays that the craft companies are getting into the watercolor game. There is a set of 18 Turner watercolors at Jerry's that are $29, and they are artist quality. So that's a really good set. There's also a 12 sketch box. If you don't want to have a big palette to deal with, they have a little 12 sketch box set by Cotman. And you can get those very easily, pretty much anywhere. Cotman is on the student line of Winsor & Newton, and they're very easy to find and replace and refill if you need to. And I think that the sketchbox goes for about $24, and you've got 12 little mini pans of color and a handy little palette like that you could travel with. So I think it would depend on, are you painting mostly at home, or are you painting out and about, you know, and get a set that's gonna be best for the way you paint.
Lundrum Sella, what paper to use for acrylic?
I would suggest canvas paper, but if you can't, then like a mixed media paper that you've gessoed or a watercolor paper that you've gessoed. So now I'm going to start mixing the color for the hearts themselves now that we've got these shadows out of the way. And I am going to take some white. Let's see, we've got pink, so let's do our pink first. I'm going to take a little bit of red. And I apologize for my palette being in this state. It's haven't had a chance to really clean it. It's pretty bad, but honestly, what I think I'll do is when I'm done today, the paint dries so fast because it's acrylic, it always is dry before I have a chance to clean it. I think what I'll do is actually, because I prefer a gray palette, so I think what I'm going to do for acrylics, I'm going to just rub all the paint in so it should make some natural gray colors, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So if you look at a jar like this, you'll see a lot of edges, more edges than you will actual hearts. So what I'm going to be doing is making some marks here that will just be kind of like edges of candies. Look, there's a candy, you know, because you're not going to really see more than that in a lot of these places. So I just want to put down some marks. And I'm trying to keep it balanced, so I have about the same of each color. I don't have a bunch of, you know, purple and no orange. You know, I want to keep it fairly fairly even. And using a round brush or a filbert will give you that rounded edge that will look nice with these. And make some orange here. We'll do, I don't have to clean my brush because I'm going to be using some of that red.
S. Young, are you going to put gesso on that when you are done?
You wouldn't gesso. Oops. Oh gosh, that's the dirty spot. See, that's the problem with having a dirty palette. You can't tell what's dry paint and what's fresh paint. Fresh paint. I would varnish it, not gesso it.
Helen Turner, do you use a hand stick for balance?
Sometimes if I'm working on an easel and I have, I'm working on a really big, I'll just slide it up so you can see, a really big painting, I will. Generally, I don't need to, but you know, just depends on what I need to do at the moment. But sometimes. Like our orange color, just the yellow touch, tiny little touch of red because the red is super strong, and white. I hope this is coming crisp for everybody.
People are saying it's coming in good.
Good. Now, since a lot of these candies would tend to stack on each other, some of them I'm putting kind of like butting up against another one. And you can turn your brush around and kind of come in from the other side if you're going to see that edge and you want it to be nice and round. If you do varnish your painting, like these are all matte colors, and my canvas is matte. So when I'm done, it will all have the same sheen. So if I want to keep it matte, I'd want to use a matte varnish. If I want it to be shinier, then I would use a gloss or semi-gloss. So just keep in mind when you buy varnish, because you might not want to have huge containers of every finish. You know what you like the look of the most.
Crafty Hamsters, do you still have those sea monkeys?
No,
I remember you did a video a pretty long time ago.
Yeah, that batch lasted several years. But yeah, they do finally seem to like run their course, and then yeah, and then I kept them for like another couple of weeks just to make sure there weren't any babies in there. And this is just white with a touch of yellow. But yeah, they ran their course. I think probably like 3 years is probably about the most you're going to get from one batch of sea monkeys. They do breed and everything, but they do seem to crap out after a while.
Don't we all?
Yep.
Little Joker Jr., how do you clean your brushes?
Well, I keep them in water until I'm ready to wash them, but you don't want to leave these in water too long because they have wooden handles and the wood will expand if they soak in the water, and then it will crack the paint. And I'm sure I have one I can show you that's happened to right here. Oh yeah, because I'm notorious for this. So the paint will split and then swell, and sometimes the ferrule, this metal part, will become loose. So what you want to do is while you're painting and you're not using the brush, put it in some water and then wash it with soap and water when you're done. And you could use like shampoo. Like if you had a shampoo that you weren't crazy about, you could use that to wash your brushes. My favorite is Master's Brush Cleaner, and it's in like a cake in a little plastic container. And it is a little expensive, but it does last you a long time. So that's my pick. But you know, if you don't have that, use what you have. Use a bar of ivory soap if that's what you have. It'll, you know, just get them clean, get all the paint out of them.
Hala Saad, how would you organize paint tubes? I have so much trouble with these.
What I used to do is I had this over-the-door hanger that had all these little mesh pockets that you put them in, and it was meant for paint. I believe the maker was Crafters Collectibles, and that was really great, but I didn't have a door downstairs in my studio, so I had it kind of, you know, hung off some nails off one of the joists and the ceiling joist, and I wasn't really happy with that solution, so I just throw them in like one of those Sterilite plastic containers. You can get them at like any office supply store or Walmart or Target. It's basically just a plastic 3-drawer unit, and I just put all my artist quality in one bin and all my craft and student quality in another bin. So I know that if I'm doing like jelly printing, I'll just grab that whole bin of my craft paints and I'll go work on my jelly prints. If I'm working on like a fine art painting or something for a painting tutorial, I would grab my artist quality stuff. So that way I have it organized by what I'm going to do. If I'm going to go teach a kids class, I'm going to grab my student quality, craft quality paints, you know, so that works for me. That way I've got them, and they're in a bin, so I can just grab the bin and go.
Kenya Stevens, have you ever used gouache? If so, do you have any tips? P.S. Love your channel.
Oh, thank you. You can actually do this painting in gouache. This is an acrylic gouache, meaning it's got an acrylic polymer instead of gum arabic, but it's still a thin, matte, opaque paint. So you could totally do these techniques. Just use paper rather than canvas because it won't bond. Traditional gouache is not going to bond properly to canvas, but my tips would be to not use it as thick as typically you'd use acrylics. You can thin it out like watercolor, but it's not going to have, a lot of times it's not going to have this tinting strength, so I wouldn't thin it out quite as much as watercolor. But the wonderful thing is you can kind of do both. You can do kind of acrylic techniques and watercolor techniques. So so I guess my tip would be just experiment with it and think, you know, and just know you can like re-wet it. If it dries on your palette, you can re-wet it like you would watercolor, but I wouldn't necessarily squeeze out as much as you would for watercolor. Oh my gosh, I just mixed that right in that black again. Well, I'll make these shadowy purple candies in the back.
How, Kristen Green, how do you feel about Royal and Langnickel watercolor paint? Are they better or worse?
They are student grade paint. They're not as good as Cotman, but they're marketed as a student grade paint. That's what they are. The pan ones are higher quality than the tube. I have found the pan, you get a nice color. It comes back. If you try to squeeze this tube out into a palette, it tends to crack. So it's a good student level paint to get you used to before you go spend, you know, $20 on a tube of paint. You know, kind of good in the middle. Have you tried the Royal and Langnickel ones, the pans that I got you?
Not yet, but I'm getting ready to. I went through the other day and totally cleaned up my craft room because it was just piles of stuff. Yep. Finished up a couple odd and end projects that I'd had, and so now it's clean and tidy, and that is on my next to-do list, is to make a little guide, you know, with the colors.
Yep, yeah, make a swatch chart.
Yep, and then find a video and practice something.
Yeah, try to find the pans if you can, because those are a lot stronger. They don't have the water or as much filler, I think, as the tube paints have.
Vivian Conway, have you used water mixable oils by Winsor Newton, and what is the difference in working with it versus acrylics?
Water mixable oils are going to stay wet a lot longer. They're like, if you were painting your background and you wanted it to dry and you want to paint your foreground right over it, you would probably want to just paint your background where it's going to show and not necessarily paint. Like if we were doing this and you were going to do, like, maybe it's a yellow background, I wouldn't paint right over the jar, because it would take a long time to dry and it would keep smearing into your color until you were ready to use it. So you need to allow more time for drying, and you have to, you know, be a little more careful when you're cleaning your brushes, because they do clean up with soap and water, but they definitely will, if you don't clean them properly, will have an oily film to them. I wouldn't share brushes. I would have separate brushes, or you can use your oil painting brushes with the water mixable oils. They are an oil paint. They've just been formulated so that you can clean them with water. But that's pretty much the only difference between them and oil paint. They're much more like oil paint than they are like acrylics. Use them just like oils. I prefer regular oils, but as far as the cleanability, I end up using the water mixables more often just because of the convenience. Now we're just blocking in some of these colors here while we get it on our palette. I'm gonna do some
Art
green.
Sherpa Cinnamon has joined us.
Oh, hey, Cinnamon!
Now I'm a little behind on lots of video chatting and questions. Darlene Faringa, do you have a video on how to put a hook of some kind on a paint board to hang it?
A hook? No, I don't. Does it mean like a drawing board that you would?
She just says board on a paint board. I'm assuming so.
Nope, I don't. I'm not sure.
I would imagine you could probably just Google that and find like WikiHow or like
I wonder if like it's maybe she tapes her paintings to a board and she wants to just hang up the board, maybe like a command hook, an eyelet or something on the, or an eye hook on the board, and then a command hook on the.
Yeah, I bet if she went Googled that at WikiHow, because WikiHow has a lot of like stuff like that.
Yep.
It would give her some ideas.
Yeah, I saw a cool easel, and it hangs on the wall. So like if you don't have the floor space, yeah, I'm thinking I can't remember what it was called. They saw it advertised in a painting magazine, but it looks kind of cool because it looks like you can like tip the top away from the wall if you want to do pastels, or tip the bottom away if you want like a traditionally angled thing. It was kind of cool. Cinnamon, I have to tell you, I used your watercolor pencil sketching on tip today. I did credit you.
Katrina, is there a way to revive a brush that has dried acrylic paint in it? Ooh, that's a good question. Is there?
Yes, there is. It probably won't be as good as new, but it will be usable. If you take, I'm just doing green, yellow, and white for the green Conversation Hearts. If you soak it, like I put some alcohol in a mason jar or just a old spaghetti sauce jar, and put the brushes down, tip the bristles down, let it soak for a bit, and the alcohol will break down the acrylic paint and it will work up into the ferrule, which is the metal part. And I somehow managed to dip the edge of my brush in that bright green paint. And see, I try never to get my paint more than halfway up my bristles, and that prevents paint getting into the ferrule, drying, and splitting my hairs apart. But yeah, if you just soak it in alcohol and then wash it really good, you probably can get a lot of it out that way. But if it seems like it's super far gone, like the bristles are just going every which way, and you're about to toss it in the trash, before you toss it in the trash, boil some water and dip the bristles in the boiling water. Pull them out. Don't do it when it's super boiling. Just let it cool for a couple seconds and pinch it and shape it. And that can bring your bristles back. You can also try shaping it with some soap, like putting some soap in the brush after you do that and letting it dry. And then the next time you wash it, rinse out the soap, and it should be improved. It won't be as good as new, but it will definitely be a lot better than what you had before.
Diana Alvarez wants to know if there will be a watercolor tutorial for this.
Gosh, I hadn't thought about it, but that might be kind of fun. This would be a fun one to do in watercolor or watercolor pencils.
Let's see. Sadie Annalise, how long have you been an artist?
I've been painting my whole life. So I would say I've been a professional. I've been earning my living as an artist for 17 years.
The Art Sherpa, Lindsay, have you reviewed the Core watercolors yet?
Yes, I have. They are fantastic. I really like them. I bought all the intro sets, all the 6 intro sets last year. I bought one of them, the high chroma set, and I loved it so much that I bought the other 2 6 intro sets because the 12 intro set had some duplications between those, and they're wonderful. That Aquazol binder that Golden uses is really strong. I didn't really know what to think about it because I thought it was kind of a gimmick. Why would they use something different? Gum Arabic's been around forever and it's always worked fine, but I was really impressed with it. And even like the metal, the little intro kits come in little tins, and the tins are pallets that you can use, and it like the paint sticks to the metal in those on the pallets, those enamel metals so well. I mean, I can't believe it. It does, but yet it revives with water so easily. They're really cool. I was very happy. They're very crisp, clear colors, and they're wonderful. I don't know about Lightfast. I'm actually looking. There's a color chart taped to my wall right there for the cores. Does it have Lightfast info on there? Can you say?
Let me find out. Let me see.
I circled all the colors I have on that chart. I have quite a few.
Oh, Chewy, nothing's happening. I know you think something is, but it's just me standing up for a second.
I'm just adding highlights into the wet paint since it is wet and it's a little darker than what I want here.
It doesn't. It says deep, rich, beautiful color. Core's, am I saying that right?
Core, I think.
Core's exclusive binder gives color greater intensity and clarity while retaining the best qualities of traditional watercolors. Core offers a strength, range, and versatility unmatched in the history of watercolors.
Ooh, in the history. Those are some.
And that's all it says.
Big claims.
Lucy Hardman. I live in the UK and I'm going to New York in October. Where is the best to find coupons to bring back cheap supplies?
I would go. Geez, well, I want to part of New York because it really depends. If she's going like New York City, I think is a little more limited because it's so expensive to have retail space there. So if she's not going to be right in New York City, I think there'd probably be like a lot of more like stores like, you know, your big box craft stores where you can use a coupon. I'm not sure if there's a Jerry's in New York or not. A lot of times, like the big stores will have like outlets kind of in the outlying areas where it's not quite so expensive.
It probably would be worth it to Google. Like
Yes,
Google
definitely.
Shop where in the area that they're going to be in, see what's available for shops, and then go coupon hunting online.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of times you can do that right on your phone. Like you can print your coupons, or not print them, but download them on your phone so that you just show your phone. Yeah, just show your phone when you go in. I'm putting little shadows. So basically, like any color that I've mixed here, adding a little bit of the pure color, like I'm adding a little bit of the purple to the purpley white color, and just giving it a little bit of, just a little streak on the side to show that depth. I did it there in the green too. I mean, it's just one stroke. Don't stress out about it, and you know, just put it and leave it, and it'll look fine. So something to do on those.
JPC13 Art, do you ever find that any water mixable oils have a sticky film when you paint with them?
You know, I have found like older stuff that maybe the cap has been left off, or anything that's been sitting on my palette. I find that that happens too. It got green all over my hand somehow.
Yay! Shelly D. Stanton, do you have a video on the world of artist trading cards?
I don't. That's something I haven't really done much. I think that probably the only artist trading cards I've really made has been for like every year when you go to the stamp show, they have like a little ATC competition, or you know, you can make an artist trading card and submit it, and then you might win. I think they draw. I don't know if they judge or they draw, but some people win rubber bucks or whatever to go spend. But you know what? I just got an email from the editor at Scott Publications, and they're coming out with like an issue that's just like mini things like ATCs and inchies and stuff. So if you go to scottpublications.com, that magazine will be available soon. But if you're an artist that does that, you can submit and get published. And for compensation for that, I think is a free copy of the book when it comes out. There's very little advertising in those books, so you are getting all content, which is kind of cool.
Ariana Shepherd, how do you get paint off paper?
I would paint over it. If it's acrylic, I'd paint over it. If it's watercolor, then wet the paper and use like a brush that's not super stiff, but I've got one that I like to use a lot. It's just like it's like a little rounded top. It's a filbert. It's kind of stiff, and you can scrub the area and then blot with a paper towel. And often that will take your watercolor off the paper. If it's acrylic paint, just gesso over it and use it again.
Lil Joker Jr., do you put a base coat on the canvas before painting?
Not if it's, as long as it's a canvas that I trust, that I've used before and I know is going to be fine, which usually it is. So no, unless I'm changing the color of the background for something, I usually just go and paint my painting.
And have you ever painted on a black canvas?
I have. That's kind of fun. And you could just gesso a canvas. They make black gesso. You could always just gesso a canvas black too to do it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. I have a bottle of Bob Ross black gesso in one of my drawers downstairs. They make clear gesso too, which is a lot like a gel medium kind of that you could so if like you wanted to maybe stretch a piece of cool like pattern canvas from the craft store, or you know, just you wanted to keep that, or if you'd done maybe some watercolor on paper and you knew you wanted to work on it more and you didn't want it to spread, you could clear gesso over it. You got to be careful that the gesso doesn't smear it, but that's something cool you can do.
Patty Bell, do you ever use watercolor crayons?
Yes, I do. I really like them. I have a few tutorials on my channel if you want to check them out. Just actually, if you go to my website, thefrugalcrafter.wordpress.com, and search in the search box there, just watercolor crayons, it's easier to find stuff. And then you've got photos along with just the video thumbnails, so you can see the finished projects and stuff and have a little more information than what I can put on YouTube. So there's There's an option. I need some orange hearts in there, I think.
Ariana Shepherd, I think she meant, what do you like to paint?
What do I like to paint?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, it says, what do you like to paint?
Oh.
I'm assuming it's what do you like to
Oh,
paint?
I like to paint flowers most of all, I think. I like the colors. I like textures of the petals.
Northern Birder. Hi, Lindsay. 2 questions. I recently used a latex product to cover my whites on a watercolor. I can't get it all off. Can I use alcohol? Any suggestions?
Okay, it sounds like he's using masking fluid, like a latex masking fluid. And sometimes the reason it won't come off is because you've used like a tool or a hair dryer to speed the drying process along. And sometimes it makes it stick, or if you leave it on your canvas too long, it will it'll sometimes stick. So I don't know. I've never successfully, I usually put masking fluid on and remove it within a week. I think they don't recommend leaving it on more than 2 weeks. So I don't know. I think I might see if I could rescue it with maybe some liquid white. They make this, it's like a whiteout for watercolor paper, and they have different like colors for different brands. I think I might try that. That might be your best bet at this point to salvage it. If anybody else has removed old masking fluid, please let me know. You could always write the manufacturer, just email them, or sometimes you can find them on Facebook or whatever, and just say, hey, this is what I did. I can't get the rest of that product off. Can you help me? And if anybody can, they'll know what to do.
And second question from the same person,
Yep.
Northern Birder. Do you know where I can purchase a table watercolor easel which has variable tilt positions? Thanks for your help.
Yeah, they're available all over the place. You probably want to get one that it looks kind of like a flat piece of plywood. It's like a rectangle. It's usually like about, 14 by 18 rectangle, and it's got like a lip on the bottom to hold your paper or whatever. And then it's got like it's like a frame that it folds down flat into, or you can raise it up at different angles, and the lip on the bottom keeps your pen or watercolor block or whatever from sliding off. But I like that rather than just like a regular adjustable easel, because you could tape your paper to it instead of using like a drawing board if you don't want to. But I mean, I think any art supply store would have that. Jerry certainly would have it. You might even do, I've seen them in kits. Like I know Royal and Langnickel had some kits with, I think, some acrylic or oil kits that had that easel in it. So, I'd look around, because that should be a pretty easy one to find. And, if you play your cards right, you might get it with some paint that you actually like included for free. So.
UK Dolly D. Hi, Lindsay. Have you written any books?
No, I thought I was going to do a watercolor one, and I kind of crapped out on that idea because I was going to self-publish it, and then I just I need somebody to hold me accountable, apparently. But I wouldn't turn down the opportunity if it arose. I'm the type of person that needs if it's a long-term project, I need an editor on my tail keeping me honest.
Joe Maskey. Lindsay, what was the mix for that gorgeous warm orange? I missed it.
It is the, I know Joey has these paints, I'm pretty sure. Permanent lemon, permanent red, and white. But you just want a tiny little touch of the red because it's super strong. Actually, the yellow's pretty strong too. It's mostly white in that mix. Okay, so now we're going to, any of the hearts that you haven't added, if they're not an absolute perfect face-on heart, you're going to need to put like a little bit of a line on the edge, like we did on the hearts on the table. You can see how you can see the shadows and stuff on the hearts. If you're seeing part of the edge, like on that yellow one, the yellow one's especially kind of easy to see. You can see like the edge is a little bit darker. So you just want to make sure that anything that's not perfect, like that one's pretty round, but if you have one that you can see is slightly askew, you want to get that little bit of a shadow on there just to make it look a little bit more like it has more depth.
Phelan Jackson, when is a good time for someone to start oil painting, and what should you buy?
I started when I was in high school, I think. You know what, I think for a beginner oil painter, I really like to like have oil pastels and sketch on with an oil pastel, and then use a little bit of thinner like Gamsol or Terpenoid, something that's not too stinky. And I like to kind of blend with that. So you kind of turn that into paint, and that way it's a great way to bridge between painting and drawing. You get that nice kind of, it's very easy because you're sketching and then you're turning it into paint, so it's very easy. Then you can go over with paints. But I would actually recommend starting off with like a kit that has some brushes and some paints, and everything that you kind of need to get started. And then as you see what you really use, like you love burnt sienna but you don't use burnt umber or whatever, then when you replenish with a nicer paint, you can just get the things that you're going to use. And there's tons, I mean, many companies make those introductory sets that will give you kind of just a base amount of supplies to get you going. And it's usually the cheapest rather than buying everything individually.
Alexandra Perovic, some new DIY craft supplies tutorials soon. Miss them.
Okay, anything in particular she wants me to try to make?
Oh, she doesn't say anything.
Okay. I'm switching to a small pointy brush, and I'm going to start painting on some of the little conversation things on some of the hearts that we're seeing. So got my little, where's my bag of candy? Let's see. I'm just trying to get some ideas for what's on these hearts. I've got a few on my table. The hearts never look as nice as like they do on the outside of the bag, but let's get some of those out so I can see what they say. Okay, we've got to do Be Mine. That's the most classic. So I'm going to do Be Mine here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm using this tiny brush and I'm twisting it in the paint. So even though this brush is small and the hairs aren't very long, I still only have like the paint on the bottom third of that. Okay, you can use a liner for this, but if those long bristles kind of bother you, go with a spotter. A spotter is like a liner but with shorter bristles. And just simple block letters. Hold your brush kind of at a 90-degree angle at your paper so that you're just working on that tiny point. You can add a tiny bit of water if you need to your paint. You don't want it to be runny, so you're gonna I'm spritzing this at like a 12-inch distance, and always twist your brush so that you get that nice fine point. I didn't center my B up very well, but
well, sometimes they don't print correctly either.
Oh my gosh,
they're off a little bit. So
seriously, True Love, it's like half off the True Love.
Yeah, Katrina, can you use watercolor on black paper?
No, because it's transparent, but you can use gouache on black paper.
And Miranda Loff, is there other color? I think she meant canvases.
Usually they come white or black, and then because you got to figure these companies are trying to make things that are going to sell, and it does such a specific thing that not many people would buy a colored canvas, I don't think.
And Cinnamon says Golden should make you one of their outreach artists.
Well, maybe for the cores. I don't use their acrylics. I have some of their mediums, but I don't have any of their acrylics. My handwriting is nothing to write home about, guys. I'm just I'm doing my best here.
It's okay.
I feel like I need a little more. I'm just making a little puddle of water next to my paint so I can control how much gets in there.
Little Joker Jr., can you do a painting on a black canvas one day?
Sure. Should it be Elvis? Should we go?
Or was it the puppies, like the dogs? Were those popular too? Like,
dogs playing pool?
Or dragon. Ooh, you could do a dragon.
Ooh, I could throw some sequins into this too. Yes, we could totally we could totally do it up.
Stephanie Nicholson. Oh no, asking somebody else, not you. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Be that way then, Stephanie.
And Cinnamon also says she would buy a Lindsay book.
I don't know if I could fit sweet on this one. We'll see. It'll be one of the conversation hearts like I have that are all like not even centered. All right, what else should I put on? Oh, we got a soulmate. We can do soulmate on this blue one.
Ash's Craft Club. Hi, Lindsay. I have a quick question for you. I am in the UK and I'm going to a large craft store and I want to pick up some nice watercolor paints. What do you suggest brand-wise?
Well, in the UK, you should have Winsor & Newton and Winsor & Newton Cotman, both, because they're made there. So I would hope that you'd be able to find those. It's so hard to say, because something that may be very affordable here could be like 10 times as expensive over there, and something that's really expensive over here could be like really cheap over there. So I don't want to send you to something that's going to be way overpriced where you are, but Winsor & Newton should be, that's a real safe bet. That's one thing I'll say. That I love M. Graham as well. I don't know if you'll find the Turners over there, because I think that's a Jerry's Artorama exclusive, because I'd recommend those because they're a steal of a deal. But Da Vinci's pretty good if they have it. I don't know what's available over there. If there's anybody from the UK that knows what, and if you could say what store it is you're going to, and if anybody on the board can help her, please.
Hey, can I have a purple conversation heart? I can't resist. I'm looking at all these lovely. I don't
There
want to
you
steal
go.
one of your paintings.
Oh, that's all right.
Let's kiss. Sure. We're family. Patty Bell, do you ever use bottled acrylics, folk art, etc., for painting on canvas?
Oh, sure. Especially if I'm doing like a sip and paint. Because I like it that like Ceramcoat would be my favorite for the bottled acrylics. They're quite opaque. They're very reliable. I have a tutorial. It's like doing tulips. It was one of the ones that I did for a bridal shower paint party that I did. And it works great. But you know, there are big differences. Like there's some real cheap ones that I buy just for jelly printing. I think they're by like Nicole or Anita's or something like that.
More craft brand.
Yeah, and those are not really they're very thin and transparent. They're great for jelly printing, but they're not appropriate for doing like painting on canvas. But, you know, I mean, there's different.
No, I'm laughing. Cinnamon needs to see us do a dragon on velvet with sequins. On velvet with sequins.
You might be the only one to watch, Cinnamon.
No, people are saying dragon. People are excited about the dragon idea.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, I might have to do that. I have to add it to my list. I have a couple lists. I have some paper lists when people say something during the show, and I try to remember and write it down, because the chat goes away when we're done. And then I have a list that people can just add to on my website.
S Arts would like a tutorial of a flamenco dancer.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Well, geez, I was teasing these candies for not being very good, but they're my depiction of words on candies are no better. So
no, people saying your handwriting's looking good on the heart. People are saying it looks good. Oh wow, I'm actually caught up in the chat. Woo!
Awesome. Oh, here's a teachable moment. On my paintbrush, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I think you probably can. I've got a really big bead of water there from when I washed my brush. If I don't do anything about that, it's going to go down into my paint and give me an awful big blob. And it might actually lift up paint that's underneath, so it would be a tragedy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the metal part of my brush against my paper towel, and it will drink up that water, and it won't cause me any trouble. So don't just say, well, I better just paint ahead until, you know, and race that bead of water on my brush. No, don't race it. Just touch it to your paper towel, blot it up, and then you can move on. We'll do Dream on this one. Any requests for anything to paint on these conversational hearts, G-rated?
Well, someone did say that they would paint sarcastic hearts. Carrie Riley. Hi, Lindsay. I was wondering if you've ever tried Lucas brand watercolors.
Gosh, you know what? I tried a set. I got one of the little, they had one a sale, and I tried one of the small travel sets, but this was like years ago, and I remember not liking them. But I don't think it was, I think they have two qualities. I think they have an artist and a student grade. So I don't want to turn anybody off of it if that's the case, but they seem kind of opaque and chalky to me. But this was, like I said, 10, 12 years ago. I got them because they were like a special hot buy, like 10 bucks or something. So that was my experience. Okay, I need one more thing for a green heart. Let's see.
Shelly Parchman suggested bite me.
Okay, one. Oh, I don't know. Okay, I will.
Why not?
It is a candy. It's a candy.
So it's not.
I'm so not a sarcastic person. I'm like the Mr. Rogers of crafting tutorials.
I'm the sarcastic one in this duo. I'm the sarcastic one. Maria Hastbaka, how long does it usually take to paint a picture?
Oh my gosh, you know, it depends. Sometimes everything just flows and goes so quickly, and other times it's a struggle, and other times you're just so into it that you don't want the process to end and you're just really enjoying it. So, and it depends on the complexity, and it depends on how new you are to it. You know, I guess it's not like a specific answer. The one in the candies that I did. Oh, and by the way, I'll just do a quick recap. If you're doing the candies, don't add white to your paint. Block them all in with a base color, like that's just the red, right? And then you'll pick up your shadow colors. So what I like to do is take the color and the opposite. So if it's red, I pick up some green and then just give it a little swoosh on each side. So with the green, if I took the green, I might add just a touch of red or maybe some blue and a swoosh, swoosh. So do the same thing if you're doing a bold candy, just don't add the red to your color. When you've got them based in, you can take your base color plus a little white and add your highlights. And then finally, since these are very matte, and these are like candy coated, so you will need a little dot of white on all the candy to show that they're shiny. So it's just basically a saturation difference in color when you're doing that. Now I'm going to paint the wire part that is on the thing. And I got to move my canvas so somebody asked about a bridge. This is a situation where I would use a bridge if I was at an easel. I'm actually tipping my canvas so I can kind of rest my hand and get a little more control. And I'm also holding my brush closer to the ferrule so that I can get a little more control. And I want to make sure my paint's nice and flowy. And I am going to go over my lines. This isn't flowing enough, so I'm going to add some water. As long as you don't go more than 30% of water to paint, you should be fine. It shouldn't lift up if you varnish it or anything like that.
Anne Casillas suggests a mermaid and her jewel chest in watercolors for an idea.
Oh, that would be cool.
Victoria Supergirl Nick, any advice on painting?
Paint. Do it.
Paint.
Just do it. That would be my my advice. Because you can watch tutorials and you can read about it all day long, and that's not going to make you a better painter. It's like if my dad always said, if you want to learn how to build a house, build a house. You know, that's how you learn. Wouldn't apply to, like, you know, surgery or being a dentist, but you know.
No, technically you do have to practice at all of that.
Yeah, that's
to get
true.
Good. I mean, because they always have the student dentists. You know, this dentist school where you can go have your teeth cleaned for really cheap because it's students.
Yep.
And you might get poked. Let's see. I'm behind again in the chat. I was ahead for like 5 minutes.
It's good to have goals.
Let's see. Victoria Supergirl Nick, do you use any tools except for paintbrushes?
Yeah, sometimes I'll use, well, with watercolor, my favorite tool is a credit card scraper. I use that a lot. For like acrylics, I might use a like a silicone tipped brush or a palette knife. Generally those I would use with thicker paints because you can push them around a little bit more. There's really not a bunch to push around here. I'm using a filbert on its edge to try to get a little more control and push that paint a little bit, but I'm feeling like I might need a stiffer brush here. This is where I lost my sketch, so I'm gonna have to
fake it.
Fake it. I'm so glad that we haven't heard. Maisie must be napping.
She did poke her head in for a minute.
Oh, she did.
And I gestured, be quiet, shh, and she walked away.
Oh.
She might be napping.
She might be. I hope so. It's nothing worse than feeling nauseous because there's nothing you can do. You can sleep it off if you're lucky, you know?
Yeah. It's not like you can take anything for it, really. I mean, unless you have some anti-nausea medication from your doctor.
Well, yeah, I gave her some Pepto and that did not stay down.
No, no, no. That's the thing, because if you try and take something, just make you just throw up.
Yeah. Now, while this is still wet, I actually want to go in with some white. Yeah, I went on Facebook this morning and because I mean that's the hip happening place for middle-aged mothers, and oh yeah, everybody
you're not middle-aged.
Everybody on the basketball team's like, oh, my kid is throwing up. Like, I just hope the other twin doesn't get it. And this is the part of the painting where you kind of fake it. You just kind of drag some white through it for highlights and hope that the little swirly things on the sides are looking fairly normal, because I lost my sketch when I was putting my background in. Oh yeah, I showed another little thingy there. Okay. And I feel out of it. You get a sick kid home, so you're trying to think, okay, what can I give them? You want to feed them something, but then you don't want to make them sick, and it's there we go. Okay, we'll let that dry, and we'll put highlights on in a little bit. Now, my favorite part is actually doing shadows and highlights on the glass, and that's pretty much
torture.
Some of our, it's not torture, it's kind of our last, oh, you're still traumatized over the watercolor glass bottles.
You know why? Because as I was cleaning the crafter, I came across that card and looked at it and then tucked it away again. I was like, oh, that was torture.
You don't even want to look at it because it's such horrible memories.
Joe Maskey sends a get well wish to Maisie.
Oh, thank you. I will let her know.
And Whitney Temple also has a sick kiddo today.
Oh. Well, it's funny because I replied to one of the mom's posts. I'm like, oh yeah, mine too. And then like a few minutes later, after the bus had gone by, phone rang, and it was kids, a kid calling to commiserate. There with a tale of woe.
And the art Sherpa says she hopes she feels better and is back to crafting soon.
Aww. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm putting the kind of more direct shadows onto these objects because we just kind of got a base idea. And I'm doing this with a small brush so I don't get more than I want. Now, if this was watercolor, I would just grab that damp brush and I would drag that out. So I've got to be careful because sometimes I want to pull those techniques in and they're not going to work very well. So I might just kind of dry brush it out a little bit or add a little white to it and pull my gray out that way. Hear a lot of tapping over there.
Oh, someone's asking if we had Jerry's in Maine, and I was just telling her directly that we don't.
Oh, I wish.
That would be great. You just go in and wander around for a couple hours?
Yeah.
Like, woo.
That'd be dangerous, though.
True. You know what? They could put it in Portland. That way, we couldn't go there all the time, but it's still feasible to get there if we wanted to go.
That's true. I haven't been to Portland in a long time. Actually, I'm keeping my shadows kind of painterly, which basically means they're kind of choppy and you can see the brush strokes. I'm not trying to hide my brush strokes, basically. I like seeing the brush. If I'm going to do acrylics, I like to see my brush strokes, If I'm doing watercolor, I kind of like it to look like it just happened, like it was a little bit more. Poor Cinnamon's probably just going, oh, Lindsay, what is that? What are you doing?
Oh, she's not either. She's not either.
If you really want to know how to paint in acrylics correctly, you should check out Cinnamon's channel.
Yeah. Cinnamon is the acrylic, and you're the watercolor.
Yep.
Ani Emerson, can you paint a snowy day scene?
Yeah, I do have one. It was actually done 2 colors, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, and it's on my channel. I'm going to take some of that gray that I mixed, a little bit of brown, a little bit more blue in it, because remember it was the blue and the brown, and a little bit of green, and that's going to be my darkest shadows in my glass, and that's going to be kind of like, you just get those like dark shadows and dark streaks and stuff, and I'm just going to start putting those in. And this is going to be a little scary at first because this is like the darkest of the darks. Except for our shadow. We got that shadow out of the way at the beginning, so we kind of established our values, because otherwise it can be a little scary. And if your other values have been way too light all along and you go to put in your shadows at the end, everything can be completely out of whack. I just think that it helps keep everything in the correct range when you do it right off the bat.
Sarah Longshore would like to see the M&M painting again.
Oh yeah. And there's a photo of that on my website.
Carrie Hare says that they have a Jerry's in Providence,
Rhode Island. Oh,
make
nice.
a weekend trip, and says maybe you could do some kind of vlog from the store.
Oh.
We could do a weekend shopping trip and show her what we buy and the coupons and the prices and the deals.
And everyone have to watch all you guys have to watch the video about 25 times. Don't skip the ads to finance this shopping trip that we're going to take.
Deb Taramani, sorry if I said that name wrong. Lindsay, I love your work. The painting is delightful.
Ooh, thank you. So now I'm just kind of like, you don't want to outline every one of these threads on the jar, or it's going to get really cartoonish looking. You just kind of want to put a little streak here and there to show that there is some light refraction happening. And I think I would like to find a brush with a little bit longer of a bristle, because I want longer, more fluid strokes, and the spotters are really better for shorter strokes. So I think like this is a little fatter, but I think because it's longer, it will hold more paint. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to see if that will give me enough of a fluid stroke. This is one of the ones that came in the kit of the Turner acrylics, and it's actually a plastic handle, so you don't have to worry if you leave it accidentally overnight in your water. And here again, I'm resting my hand on the canvas, but I'm resting it on the stretcher portion so that I don't stretch the fabric or indent the fabric. And I think I might actually, yeah.
Maria Hasbaka, how old were you when you first developed the interest for painting?
Oh, I was really young. I started painting, or actually started with a drawing teacher when I was 5, and she typically didn't take kids under 9 as students, but I showed her some of my work, or my mother showed her some of my work. She asked me to draw a haunted house. I remember this very vividly. And so I had a big sketch pad, a big piece of paper, and I drew a big haunted house with all these ghosts and stuff. I don't know if she specifically said draw a haunted house. That's what I drew anyway to you know, audition, if you will, for her. And she agreed to teach me, and luckily she lived right across the cornfield from where I grew up, so I was allowed to walk over to her house for my lessons, and I would go like once a week after school. And then when I got older, my lessons would be on Saturdays, and I think I studied with her till I was about 13. So it was drawing for the first 2 years, and then she let me branch out into watercolor. And and she was a watercolorist, so that's pretty much all I took with her. I think we might have done one oil painting together. And it used to tick me off though, because she would try to fix my mistakes, and I refused to sign my name on my painting if she had put a stroke of paint on that. And yet she still would teach me, even though I was a brat.
She knew that she saw all that potential. Breathless, I loved your bottle cap DIY watercolors palette video.
Thank you.
Would love to see you create something with it. And
I gave that one to the kids.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Sarah Longshore would like to know how long it took to do the M&M painting.
Let's see. It always takes me longer, the demo piece, so I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to do for the live shows. I would say that probably took me an hour and a half. But then that's counting all the, you know, hemming and hawing and kind of sitting back and looking at it and, you know, typing comments. So I'm usually doing it watching Cinnamon's live show, and I'm like typing in, you know, witty little quips to entertain myself anyway. That's all I'm entertaining, probably.
That's all that matters. Little Joker Jr. Suggests a 3-color challenge, like in watercolor or something.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And Corey S. has a request to paint the M&Ms in watercolor as a tutorial.
Oh, the M&Ms of watercolor. I don't know. I wonder how that would look. I think I don't know if it would have quite the punch.
Oh, you could do it for Easter because I always have the Easter M&Ms, which come in the pastel colors.
Oh, I could, yeah. Or I could do jelly beans. Jelly beans would be cool.
Sarah Longshore, we have 231 people watching right now.
Oh, that's awesome. I was wondering. I didn't get a chance to promote very much this week. It's been just crazy busy. So
well,
that's cool.
you know, there's a lot of people who are stuck in that huge snowstorm.
Oh, yes. I can't believe we didn't get that. We have lucked out this year. We have not had much. Yeah, I'm liking this brush for the shadows in this. I like it because it holds a lot of paint, but it's got a tiny little like razor sharp tip. So that's kind of what you want. You can get quite a bit of detail because the way the bristles are flagged, it does come to a nice tip. So keep that in mind. I try not to fuss around with the little brushes till I'm getting close to the end because I don't like to get too worried about the detail, too bogged down.
Paula Ellis, Lindsay, you are my absolute favorite person on YouTube. Thank you for all you do. I got into painting because you make it so easy to learn. You are the best.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so sweet.
Stephanie Nicholson, Lindsay, did you go to art school?
No, I didn't. I went to broadcasting school, actually.
Well, it's the same thing.
Except there's
Not
no
at
painting. Instead of like using paints, we use microphones But yeah, those skills have come in really handy with the YouTube channel, I'll tell you that.
Yes. Willena Jennings, Lindsay, have you ever done the poured watercolor technique? I don't know.
Yes, I have. I haven't done that in a long time, but yeah, you mix up like really juicy, like almost like cups of watercolor, and you pour it onto your paper.
Oh, geez.
Okay, so what I'm doing here isn't exactly technically right, but I don't have any gel medium up here. What you probably should be doing is mixing this with a gel medium, but I am doing more than 30% water here, I'm pretty sure. But I wanted that translucent glaze, so you really should use a gel medium for that, or some other sort of flow medium, airbrush medium, anything like that. I'm just letting you know so that you don't end up having an adhesion problem with your paint. But I don't have that right here. I don't want to stop and run downstairs to get that and find it and everything. So just to let you know, if you're gonna really thin it down, use a medium, unless you're not concerned at all about your paint. I don't think it's really gonna lift up. You know, I'd put a coat of varnish on it. I'd be surprised if it lifted up, but that's what the manufacturers would say anyway. Now I want to get that little white seal in there, and that's just a streak of plain white. Did we have a question?
Yes, Arabella Hart. How would this painting work using gelatos?
Using gelato. If I was going to do this in gelatos, I would first find a conversation heart stamp, which I actually have, and I would do it stamping. I think I would stamp a mason jar with waterproof ink, and then I would stamp. No, I'd stamp a mason jar with blue ink, like distress ink, and then I would use a wet brush to drag the color around to make it look glassy, and then let that dry, and then I would stamp on my conversation hearts in different colors, and with the gelatos, I would ink up my hearts with the gelatos and stamp those on, and then probably scribble a little bit of blue gelato onto my palette, and I would kind of add in some more shadows, and then I would use the white gelato stick from the gelato itself and streak on the highlights. So that's how I would do it with gelatos. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, to me, it made sense. My dog is snoring.
All right, I'm putting just a little shadow on this side, because look, light's coming from here, obviously, because our shadows are over here. So this is going to be the dark side of the rubber gasket that's on this mason jar. So I'm just going to streak it, and maybe one more streak, and then just leave it be. And since I'm going into the wet paint, it will blend a little bit better.
JPC13 Art, who is your art inspiration?
Oh, gosh, I really don't know. There's been artists in the past. I really like Salvador Dali. I like Marc Chagall. I saw an exhibit of Marc Chagall in Hawaii when I was on my honeymoon, which was really cool because I was a fan. Anyway, I like abstract expressionism. I like the colors. I like how free it looks. But I also like surrealism. I don't know. I like so much, but I'm not heavily influenced by anyone in particular, I don't think. I'm mixing up a little more of that dark because I feel like the canning jar candle needs a little bit of work. And I'm going to try it with this brush because I think this brush is going to work a little bit better for that.
Yeah, we have a lot of people who are getting hunkered down for the snow. We've got 20 inches, 2.5 feet.
Oh, man.
I don't mean to giggle, guys, but I'm glad you're getting it. I feel bad that you're getting it, but I'm glad we're not.
I thought we were going to get it too because I saw some maps earlier this week and it was like we were in the 19 plus inches realm, and I was like, oh man.
Thankfully that airstream is pushing it out to sea, so it's not coming up here.
Yep. Yeah, we've really lucked out, but I guess we paid our dues last year. Last year was so the snow was so oppressive last year. It was awful.
We got all the snow for this year last year.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't have chickens last year just because of getting out to them would have been awful. Oh, I think I'm missing something over here, I think. Yes, I'm missing that I must have.
Creative Crafting 73. What can I use to restick my Cricut mat?
There's a product called Quilter's Basting Spray. And it is it's a low tack repositionable adhesive, and quilters use it to spray on their material, like to kind of hold it in place while they sew it. I think that's what they use it for anyway. And you want to use some masking tape and tape off the edges of your mat, the part that aren't sticky that you hold, that you feed into the machine, the border, and then just give it a light spray and let it dry. It won't take very long. And then you'll be all set to use it again. Sometimes though, just washing it with like dish soap and a rag will make it, once it dries, air dries, it will be sticky again. So you could try that first, and if that's not enough, then go ahead and use the sticky spray. I got mine at Walmart. It was, I think, about $6 or $7 for a big can of it, and I got it years ago, and I still have some. So.
Susan Carson wants to know, what is that cool brush?
This one?
I think so.
This is the one that came in this kit that's $25 at Jerry's Autorama. It comes with 4 brushes. This black one is not in the kit. That was also from Jerry's, but separate. But it comes with 4 brushes, and they perform very well. And it's like a Japanese, I think the Turner paints are like a Japanese style, because some of the colors really have like a Japanese feel to them. And this Japanese, it looks like Japanese writing here on the handle, and they're all hollow, kind of like how a bamboo brush should be. They're hollow, but they're plastic, so you can like leave them in the water and not worry about it, which is really nice for me, because I tend to get distracted. Like I think because I have kids, I'll be interrupted sometimes, and then my brushes sit overnight, and I'll come back to cracked handles. I am dry brushing, which means I have some paint on my brush. My brush isn't super loaded, and I'm just going on my highlight areas and just depositing a little bit of paint on the texture. So just see that really slice of just light highlight there. You're going to want to do that on your candies, and you don't want to do like a really bright highlight, because like look here, so we want this to look matte and chalky, because those candies are chalky. These candies are shiny, so we used a streak of like a shiny, really thick streak and dot of a highlight to make those look shiny. To make this matte, we're going to dry brush, so we still get the highlight, but it gives it a much more chalky look. So I load up my brush. I just kind of tap into a little bit on the edge, and my bristles are splayed apart. They're not that razor sharp point like I had before. And then I'll even tap it on my palette a couple times to make sure there's no clumps. And then I'm just going to trace the edge. And that one's actually a little wetter than I wanted it. My brush is probably a little wet from when I washed it. So if you do that, just kind of dab it and try again. I'm trying to find something. I should squeeze out some more white. I'm having a hard time finding fresh white on my palette, but just give it a little bit of highlight. And you can do that to some of these in the jar. I wouldn't get too crazy about the ones in the jar, because we're going to put highlights on the glass. But if you want to just do a little touch here and there you can. And now I am going to put a, well, actually, maybe I can squeeze enough white out here. Now we're going to do the high highlights on the jar, and your brush is twisted in the paint, so we have a fairly good load of paint on the tip of our brush, and it's twisted so it's sharp, and we're going to put in our highlights. And you may want to start, just kind of stand away from your picture for a minute, make sure that everything is looking good at this point, and then start adding highlights. And these are your thicker, juicier highlights. You can put streaks. I'm going to need more paint. I don't have enough paint on there.
Courtney McMaster, any ideas how I would stiffen lace?
You could starch it. Get like the liquid starch and soak it, and then like maybe lay it out on a piece of wax paper while it dries, or lay it over a bowl if you're trying to make like a lace bowl or something. You could also use Mod Podge. I think starch is removable. It depends on what you're doing. I'm just trying to catch. I'm imagining the light kind of coming in like that, and I'm just kind of imagining where it's going to catch. And I'm also using that reference photo from Lillian Bell because I like the constant shadow there, and I've got so much light on my table that I couldn't get a good shadow from just looking at my still life I have set up. Anything shiny, I'm going to put a streak on here.
Angel Pim, do you have a video on how to use the Silhouette Curio?
No, I don't have that machine. Sorry. I don't have much for die cutting machine videos. I have some tips on my blog from before I was doing videos because I used my Cricut a lot, but I did just get a scan and cut, and I am planning on doing some tutorials on that. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I haven't had a chance to really explore the machine too much.
And let's see, Lil Joker Jr. asked if you can do a how-to video on fur sometime.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. That's been requested a couple times. I just need to figure out what I want to do. I do have a few photos I've saved in the from Paint My Photo that would be good for that. And even though like the light's coming down from this side, with glass, you'll get reflections, you'll get bounce back. So light could come bounce off the wall, hit the jar again. So you're going to get little streaks of highlight everywhere. So don't think that you can't put streaks on the shadow side. You totally can. Like there's one like in the reference photo that's pretty strong right over there because it's getting bounced from something.
Shreya T. Lindsay, you are my inspiration. Can you please mention me in this video?
Oh, what's your name? Is Shreya T?
Shreya.
Shreya. Hello, Shreya.
Shreya. I hope that's
yes,
correctly.
I hope we pronounced it right. Hello, Shreya. Thank you so much.
We have a lot of weather talk because we have a lot of people that are in the snow. I got caught up, and then the chat was crazy and I'm behind, so I'm trying to go through.
Well, if you have questions, put them in caps, and that will be easier for her to find them. Somebody gave me that tip, and
yeah,
I'm like, what a great idea. That's a great idea.
Anja Saranac. Ooh, Saranac. They make delicious beer.
Do they?
Are there any new techniques that you would want to try?
New techniques that I would like to try. Nothing is coming to mind right now. What about you, Sarah?
Me? Well, I'm definitely still learning the watercolor thing, so I'm calling that. And actually, I just got a bead loom to try and do some bead stuff. So I did one little practice with like the inexpensive seed beads that you can buy, and quickly realized that they are not the way to go.
No.
But I was just doing it as practice to get a feel of how to do a basic. So I have that I'm going to play with because I have some other beads at the house that are all uniform in size and stuff like that. But those are my two. So watercolor and the bead stuff right now is kind of what I've been interested in learning. So yeah, I found a couple video tutorials on that I'll be watching.
Nice. Well, we're just finishing up here. I'm just looking and seeing if I need any more darks in the mason jar. And probably my darks will be a little bit more on the green blue side, a little bit less of the browny black, just to keep it nice and fresh looking. If anybody has any questions.
There's questions, there's comments.
Oh, go right ahead.
Oh, I'm trying to get back to where I was so I don't miss anybody.
Oh, okay.
Again, I'm behind.
Oh, well, so this week was a little busy. I was on a couple other channels this week doing some live stuff. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be a full-time YouTuber, like as it's your job, I'm doing a series with the Video Creators channel, and we had our first episode this week, and so every week a different one of the 6 full-time YouTubers are on the show, and every week a different one will be in the hot seat and will ask questions on you know, getting advice from the other YouTubers on how they can improve their channel. And you can chat in the comments there and everything. The first one went really well. It was a lot of fun, and that's Tuesday at 11:30 on Video Creators. That's Eastern time. And then I was also on This Crafty Life with Melody Lane and May Helms, and that was Monday. Yeah, that was Monday.
I had the animal, and I had the dog and the children.
That's right. You had all the animals.
Stephanie Nicholson, Lindsay, you should do a breaching shark painting.
Breaching shark? Like on Jaws when he jumps out of the water? Like that kind of breaching? Like a...
Sure.
Denise
A, she says that the feed isn't good. Sometimes it's jumping in and out and going out of focus.
Oh, I wonder if my munchkin has snuck on the internet.
I don't know.
Anybody else having trouble?
I don't think so. Susan Carson, a video on canvas fabric using ink tints.
I have one. It's on doing a canvas apron with ink tints that you can find on my channel.
Paula Schninsky, New Jersey, sends kudos to the most delightful artist on YouTube. Still waiting for street scene with buildings in perspective.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My request list is very long. I will say that.
Shreya T, can you soon do a flower in acrylics?
Yep, I do have tulips in acrylics already on my channel that I could tide you over for a while. Oh, you know what I was going to do and I forgot to do it? I'll have to do it afterwards, because I was curious, because people are always shouting out during the chat like what they want to see and what mediums to use, and then by the time I'm done, I can't remember how many said what. And we had a lot of people talking about pan pastel, and we had a lot of people talking about gouache. And so if you guys could leave a comment after the video, after we go off air and the video is live, if you could leave a comment saying what medium you'd like to see me use next, and that way I can kind of get results and figure out what to do for my next live show, that would be really helpful. And hopefully next week I'll put a poll up, because you can put like an interactive poll and people can like vote, but I totally forgot that I was going to do that. So if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment, and like and subscribe, or just hit the like button before you go. There you can see both of the pieces done side by side. This one had black in it. This one didn't. So you can see the vibrancy of the colors, how much softer this one is, and how much more pop arty this one is. So you can get kind of like a little comparison. I think they both look cool. They're both fun to paint, and I hope you guys try painting these.
Yes. We're behind on questions, so again, if we didn't get to your question, hop on over to the video after, put your question into the comment section, and Lindsay will get to them as soon as she can.
I absolutely will. I will get right in there in a few minutes, and I'm going to check on my kid first, make sure she's all right, and then I'll get right in and I will answer your questions. So if you're hanging out there in the comments, I'll see you in a couple minutes. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, jerrysartorama.com. They have all these supplies that I use today, plus so many more. You can find pretty much anything you need, all the brands that you love for any of your art projects. And do check out their house brands such as Turner. They're wonderful quality at a much lower price. So give it a try. You won't be disappointed, and I thank them for their support. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting.